They said there was nothing more they could do. The tests came back. The specialist closed the folder. The words that no parent, no spouse, no child should ever have to hear were spoken out loud. There is nothing more we can do. Maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe the call already came. Maybe you've been sitting in a waiting room so many times that the walls have started to feel familiar. Maybe the diagnosis has a name now. A long name, a heavy name, a name that changed everything the moment you heard it. Maybe it isn't a sickness. Maybe it's a situation, a relationship that collapsed when no one was watching, a door that closed before you could even get close to it, a dream that quietly slipped out of your hands while you were too exhausted to hold on. You came here today because something in you refused to stop believing, not because you have perfect faith, not because you never cry in the dark, but because somewhere underneath all of that weight, there is a small and stubborn flame that keeps saying, "Not yet, not over yet. There is still someone I can turn to." And that is exactly why we are here. Carlo Acutis was 15 years old when he died. Just 15. A boy who loved soccer, who laughed with his friends, who spent hours on his computer, not lost in games or distraction, but documenting miracles, real miracles, cases from around the world where the sick were healed, where the impossible reversed itself, where heaven reached down and touched ordinary people in extraordinary ways. He cataloged them with the focus of a scientist and the heart of a saint. And now, from the place where he rests, close to the altar in a little church in Assisi, in a glass case, dressed in jeans and sneakers, like the teenager he always was, he continues to intercede. He is not distant. He is not formal. He is not waiting for you to have the right words. He is close. And right now, in this moment, we are going to bring him everything. Carlo, I am coming to you with something I cannot carry alone anymore. I have tried. I want you to know that I have tried. I have held it together for as long as I could. I have shown up at the appointments. I have signed the papers. I have answered the questions. I have nodded when the doctors explained what they explained, and I have walked to my car and sat there in the silence before allowing myself to feel what I actually felt. And what I feel, Carlo, is afraid. I feel afraid in a way that no one around me fully understands, because there is a difference between knowing a situation is serious and living inside it. The people who love me tell me to stay strong. They tell me to keep praying, and I am grateful. I truly am. But there are moments, quiet moments, night moments, when the strength runs out and all that is left is this raw, aching need that doesn't know how to put itself into words. So I am not bringing you polished words tonight. I am bringing you the truth. The truth is that the report said what it said. The truth is that the numbers did not go in the direction we needed them to go. The truth is that the specialist used the phrase, limited options, and I have been holding that phrase in my chest like a stone ever since. The truth is that I am not sure how much more I can absorb before I start to break. And yet, here I am, still here, still praying, still believing that you hear me. That has to mean something. I believe it means everything. I want to tell you about a woman named Anna. She was not famous. She was not someone who showed up in history books. She was a mother, a woman who had spent years caring for her child through a condition that the doctor said would not improve. She had brought that child to Assisi. She had knelt before your resting place, Carlo, and she had wept the way only a mother can weep. Not dramatically, not for show, but quietly, completely, with every part of herself poured out. And something happened, not immediately, not with flashing lights or a voice from the sky, but over the days and weeks that followed, something began to shift. The numbers changed. The specialist was confused in the best possible way. Words like unexplained and remarkable started appearing in the reports, and Anna knew, she knew in her bones, that she had not come home alone from that church in Assisi. She had brought something back with her, a grace that could not be explained. I am not telling you the story to build your hope on someone else's miracle. I am telling you this because the God who answered Anna's prayer is the same God who hears yours. The Carlo Acutis who interceded for that child is the same Carlo Acutis you are calling on right now. Heaven does not run out of mercy. Heaven does not have a quota on miracles. There is no ceiling on what God can do when a heart comes to Him without pretense, without performance, just raw and real, and asking. That is you, right now. And that is enough. Carlo, I place before you the name that I have been afraid to say out loud. I place before you the situation that has stolen my sleep and filled my days with a quiet, grinding anxiety that I carry everywhere I go. I place before you the person I love, the one whose face comes to my mind the moment I wake up, and the one I am still thinking about when the house goes dark and silent. I place before you the diagnosis, the prognosis, the statistics, and every number that someone in a white coat has handed me like a sentence. Take all of it and bring it to the throne that you stand before, that altar of light where the saints intercede without ceasing, where the prayers of God's people rise like incense, and where nothing is impossible. You said it yourself, Carlo. Or rather, you lived it. You once said that all the sadness in the world comes from not knowing Jesus, and I believe that on the other side of what I am facing right now, there is a joy that I have not yet been able to picture, a testimony I have not yet been able to write, a moment where I will stand somewhere, in a doctor's office, in a chapel, in my own kitchen, and I will know without any doubt that God moved. That is what faith actually is, not the absence of fear, not the pretense that everything is fine, but the decision, made in the dark, made in the waiting, made when everything in the natural world is still saying no, to trust that God is already moving. We are making that decision right now. Carlo, I am not ending this prayer in defeat. I am ending it in declaration, because you taught the world something with your life. You were not a saint who hid from the world and waited for heaven. You were a teenager who ran toward heaven with everything you had, while still living fully in this world, while still kicking a soccer ball and laughing with your friends and eating pizza and sitting at a computer screen and believing completely and without apology that God was real and present and worth every second of your attention. You chose the Eucharist as your highway to heaven. You called it your superhighway. And from where you are now, from that place of complete union with the God who made miracles possible in Galilee and in Assisi and in a hospital room in Brazil and in a doctor's office somewhere that no one is filming, I am asking you to intercede. Intercede for this situation. Intercede for this body. Intercede for this family. Intercede for this impossible thing that has been declared impossible by everyone with credentials and experience and every reason to know better. I declare that the God of the impossible is not limited by a report. I declare that the same power that raised Lazarus after 4 days in the tomb is present and active and moving in this situation right now. I declare that the healing is happening in the body, in the cells, in the tissue, in the systems and structures that the doctors have labeled as failing. The repair is already in motion. I declare that the door that was closed will open. I declare that the relationship that was broken is being restored from the inside out in ways that neither party can yet see or feel. I declare that the financial wall, the legal wall, the medical wall, the relational wall, whatever wall has been built between me and what God promised, is coming down. I declare that what was said in that office, in that consultation room, in that phone call, in that letter, what was spoken in words that were meant to be final, is not the final word. God has the final word, and God says, live. Carlo, you were 15 years old, and you already knew something that most people spend their entire lives trying to figure out. You knew that this life is short, and that what we do with it, the love we give, the faith we carry, the time we spend before the Blessed Sacrament, the way we treat the person next to us, is the only thing that actually lasts. You didn't waste a single day trying to be someone else. You didn't wait until you were older or wiser or more prepared. You just loved God with everything you had, in the body, in the life, in the century you were given. And because you did, heaven recognized you. And because heaven recognized you, miracles began to flow through your intercession while you were still alive. And now, even more powerfully, from where you are now. I believe that. I believe that you hear this prayer. I believe that as these words are being spoken, you are already bringing this need before the throne of God with the same focused, joyful, completely unself-conscious devotion that defined your entire life. I believe that nothing about the situation is outside the reach of what you can bring before heaven, and I believe that God is going to answer. For the person watching right now who has been sitting in a waiting room and hasn't told anyone how scared they are, this prayer is for you specifically. For the person who got the call this week and has been pretending to be okay for the sake of the people around them. This prayer is for you specifically. For the person who has been through so many treatments, so many cycles of hope and disappointment, that they are almost afraid to hope again because the fall feels too far. This prayer is for you specifically. For the person who is not sick, but whose heart is broken in a way that doesn't show up on any scan and can't be treated by any specialist. This prayer is for you specifically. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. Heaven sees what is in you and what is on you and what has been done to you. And heaven is not indifferent. Carlo Acutis, who spent his short life proving that miracles are real and that God still moves in the lives of ordinary people, he is not indifferent either. He is interceding right now for you. Carlo, I want to speak specifically about the body, the human body that is suffering right now. The body that has been through procedures, through medication, through treatments that were meant to help and sometimes hurt in ways that no one fully warned about. The body that is exhausted in ways that go beyond just physical tiredness. exhausted at a cellular level, at a spiritual level, at the level of a person who has been fighting for a long time and is wondering how much fight is left. I am asking you to intercede for that body, not with a vague and general intercession, specifically, surgically, with the precision of heaven applied to the exact location of the damage. I am asking for bones that are restored, for tissue that regenerates, for organs that find their function again, for blood counts that reverse, for tumors that shrink and dissolve under the authority of a God who made the body in the first place and knows every molecule of it better than any doctor ever will. I am asking for pain to lift, not gradually and barely noticeably, but in the kind of way that makes the medical team stop and look at each other and reach for words that their training never taught them. I am asking for the kind of recovery that becomes a testimony that the person who prays this prayer tonight will one day stand somewhere and say, I was the one the doctors gave up on, and look at me now. I am asking for that. I am declaring that. And I believe it. Write amen if you believe that God can do what the doctor said he cannot. Write it for yourself. Write it for the person next to you in the comments who is carrying the same weight. Write it because faith spoken is faith multiplied. Amen. I want to talk about what happens after the miracle, not after the test results, not after the specialist's face changes, after the prayer. Right now, in this moment, there is an after that begins not when the circumstance changes, but when the decision is made. The decision to live differently on the other side of this. Carlo Acutis was asked once, in the way that thoughtful people sometimes ask young people things they don't expect to be answered, what he wanted to do with his life. And the answer he kept giving, in different forms, in different moments, was simply this: to be close to Jesus. That was the organizing principle of everything. Not the soccer, not the computer, not the friends, not the plans for the future. Just that nearness, that closeness. There is a reason miracles tend to cluster around that kind of surrender. Not because God is transactional, not because you have to earn the healing by promising to become more religious, but because when a person gets genuinely close to Jesus, not the idea of Jesus, not the cultural background noise of Jesus, but the actual, living, present, Eucharistic Jesus that Carlo built his whole life around, something opens. Something in the spiritual atmosphere around that person begins to shift. Heaven leans in. I want heaven to lean in over you, not just for this crisis, not just for this diagnosis, or this broken door, or this impossible situation, but for your life, for the long stretch of days that come after today, however many there are. I want you to know the kind of nearness to God that makes miracles feel less like shocking interruptions and more like the natural consequence of living in relationship with the one who made everything. That is what Carlo had. That is what made him a saint at 15. And that same nearness is available to you. Not after you get your life perfectly in order, not after you resolve all your doubts. Right now, in this prayer, in this moment of raw and desperate reaching, you are closer to that nearness than you may have ever been, because this kind of desperate, honest, nothing left to lose prayer is exactly the kind that gets through. Carlo, I want to name some things specifically. I speak healing into the lungs of the person who cannot breathe freely. I speak restoration into the heart of the person whose cardiac reports have changed everything. I speak reversal into the blood work of the person who checks their results with shaking hands. I speak repair into the nervous system of the person whose body has turned against itself. I speak strength into the bones of the person whose scan showed what they were terrified it would show. I speak peace into the mind of the parent who is watching their child suffer and feeling completely powerless. I speak courage into the heart of the patient who has to walk into another treatment room tomorrow morning. I speak endurance into the body of the person who has been in this fight so long that they have lost track of who they were before it started. I speak life over and over and from the deepest part of this prayer. Life, life, life. There is something I want you to know about the miracle at Assisi. In 2013, a young Brazilian boy named Matthias was diagnosed with a serious and rare pancreatic condition, the kind that children's hospitals see rarely and treat with great difficulty. His family, in their desperation, prayed a novena to Carlo Acutis, who was not yet beatified, who was simply a teenager from Milan, who had died and left behind a reputation for holiness. They asked him to intercede. They brought their impossible situation to his intercession, the way a drowning person reaches for whatever is close. Matthias was healed. The investigation that followed was rigorous. The doctors who reviewed the case were not believers seeking confirmation. They were scientists and medical professionals looking for a natural explanation and not finding one. The healing was declared inexplicable by medical science. It was the miracle that opened the path to Carlo's beatification in 2020. A teenager, a boy with a computer and a soccer ball, and a completely ordinary exterior. A boy who went to Mass every single day, not because he was forced to, but because he genuinely, joyfully wanted to. A boy who said that the Eucharist was his superhighway to heaven, and then proved it, first in his life, and then in his death, and then in the healing of a child in Brazil who needed a miracle and got one. That is who you are praying to tonight. That is the intercession you have access to right now, and I need you to understand, not intellectually, but in your chest, in your gut, in the place where desperation lives, that this is real. This is not a ritual. This is not a religious performance. This is contact with a real person who is really present before a really living God, who really, truly, from the core of his being, loves you. The miracle that Matthias received is not a closed category. It is still happening. It is happening right now. I declare that the fear surrounding this situation is losing its grip. I declare that the anxiety that has been waking me up at 3 a.m. and filling my chest with that particular heaviness, that anxiety is breaking right now, under the authority of a God who says, "Do not be afraid" more times in Scripture than any other single command. I declare that the people around me who have already given up, the ones who are quietly preparing for the worst, the ones who are being practical and measured and realistic in ways that feel like small betrayals, I release them from judgment, and I declare that soon, very soon, they will be the ones standing in front of me with their mouths open and no words. I declare that this prayer is not disappearing into empty space. I declare that every word spoken here has been received. I declare that Carlo Acutis is already bringing this need before the throne of God with that focused, joyful, teenage confidence that characterized his entire relationship with heaven. I declare that the answer is on its way, not someday, not in theory, not as a vague spiritual comfort that softens the blow of continued suffering. On its way, actually, really, in the physical, measurable, undeniable world that doctors work in machines measure, and specialists have to eventually account for. On its way, I want to ask you to do something. If you have been watching this prayer and you have a specific need, a name, a situation, a diagnosis, a relationship, a door that won't open, leave it in the comments below. Not because I can answer it, not because the algorithm can fix it, but because there is something powerful about writing your need out loud in a space where other people who are also reaching for heaven can see it and pray alongside you. The early Christians did not pray alone. They brought their needs into community. They carried each other's burdens. They stood together in the upper room, and they did not stop until heaven moved. There is always power in that. Carlo, I come back to you one final time in this prayer with something different. I come with gratitude, not gratitude for a miracle I can already see. I am still in the middle of the waiting, still standing between the diagnosis and the reversal, still living in the space where faith costs something because the evidence hasn't arrived yet. But gratitude for the access, gratitude for the fact that in this lifetime, in this century, in this particular corner of history, where a boy from Milan used a laptop to document the miracles of God, I have a saint who understands what it is to be young and vulnerable and human and afraid. A saint who wore sneakers. A saint who ate pizza and argued over soccer scores, and had a normal mother who loved him, in a normal bedroom where he slept. A saint who was not distant or mythological or hard to picture, but real and present and close in the way that only a person who has recently crossed from this world into the next can be close. Thank you for being that saint. Thank you for the miracles you are already interceding for tonight. Thank you for bringing our impossible things to the one who specializes in the impossible. Thank you for your fiat, your yes, to a life of holiness that now, years after it ended, keeps producing fruit in the lives of people you never met, in languages you may never have spoken, in circumstances you could never have predicted. Your life was not wasted. It was not cut short. It was complete. And it continues to be complete in the most powerful way, through the mercy of a God who has no limits and a heaven that does not sleep. I speak now to the impossibility directly. Whatever you are, a tumor, a failed organ, a broken marriage, a closed door, a financial devastation, a legal situation, a fractured family, a mind that has turned into a battlefield. I speak to you directly, and I say, you are not the end of the story. You are not more powerful than the God who made the universe from nothing. You are not more permanent than the mountains that He made and can move. You are not the final word. The final word belongs to the one who said, I am the resurrection and the life, and then proved it. The one who said with God, all things are possible, and meant every single syllable of it. The one who sent His Son to walk in human skin and touch the untouchable and heal the unhealable and raise the already dead and declare to every generation of suffering people that had already given up. Get up, get up. Your faith has made you well. Those words were not only for the people who heard them in first century Galilee. They were for you. They are for you. They are being spoken over you right now through this prayer, through this intercession, through the closeness of a young saint from Milan who loved Jesus with everything he had and is now standing in that love on your behalf. Get up, get up. Your faith has made you well. And then watch, pay attention, keep your eyes open in the days ahead, not anxiously, not obsessively, but with the quiet expectation of someone who has brought a real need to a real God through a real intercessor and is genuinely expecting an answer. Because the answer is coming. I do not know when. I do not know what it will look like or how it will arrive or which specific moment will be the one where everything changes. But I know with everything in me that the prayer prayed in faith reaches a God who receives it. And I know that Carlo Acutis, who proved in his own life and in his death and in the miraculous healing of a child in Brazil that heaven is not a metaphor, is bringing your need before that God right now. The doctors gave up. They said the words they were trained to say when the options run out. But you didn't give up. You found your way here, to this prayer, to this intercession, to this moment of reaching for something that the natural world cannot provide. And that faith, that stubborn, tired, beautiful, refusing to quit faith, is the exact thing that moves mountains. If this prayer has meant something to you, if something in you shifted while you were watching, if you felt less alone in the middle of something that has been making you feel very alone, share this with someone who needs it. Not because a channel needs views, but because somewhere, right now, there is a person sitting in a waiting room who has no idea that this prayer exists. There is a mother who got a call this morning and has been holding it together all day. There is a man who hasn't told his wife what the specialist said. There is a teenager who is carrying something no teenager should have to carry alone. Share this with them. Because miracles spread, because faith is contagious in the best possible way, because the same Carlo Acutis, who believed that the internet could be used for the glory of God, who thought, as a 15-year-old boy, that technology could be a vehicle for encountering the sacred, would not be surprised that a prayer like this one is reaching people all over the world through a screen. He would be delighted. He would want it to go further. So let it go further. Share it. Send it to the person whose name has been on your heart while you were praying. Let them know that they are not forgotten, that heaven sees them, that Carlo Acutis is interceding, that the doctors do not have the final word. God does. And God says, not yet, not over yet. There is still more. There is still more. There is always still more. Amen.